Hello, you lovely lot. Which one we're going to? Furry friend, Rich?
Oh, it's the fairy one. Come on.
Hello, you lovely lot. So, we are going to be talking all things elastic connection now, J lad, aren't we?
That. It is. Lots and lots of different options, isn't there, when it comes to elastic connectors?
But we want to show the two...
To simplify it, innit? Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. We're going to show a bead and a Dacron.
Yeah.
Come to them in it. There's a couple of other ways, isn't there? There's a crow's foot. Used to be popular back in the day.
Yeah, blooming heck, crow's foot.
And there's the standard plastic connectors that you can buy.
And there's a couple of different plastic connectors, isn't there, J lad?
Yeah, well, let's not go into that. Just standard, what they call Stomfo.
Stomfo connectors.
I'm not a fan of them these days. I think they potentially damage
obviously,
your
as coaches, as you'll know, we always sort of urge people against using them. There's not wrong with them, but there's better ways of connecting your rigs onto your elastic, folks, and that's what we want to go over.
While still remaining basic.
Definitely.
Isn't it? That's
so
the
with
thing.
the plastic ones we've had before, they just twizz around the end of your pole.
Yeah, they're just a bit, they have more
clunky.
disadvantages. Yeah.
Very clunky,
a bit rattly.
Yes.
I think they damage your elastic. But anyway, no, we want to focus on our two chosen ways because we actually do this different, both of us use different forms of connection. We do mine first?
Do yours first.
Do mine first and how I attach it, and then we'll do both of yours. So for me, you'll know, I'm a big fan of Dacron connectors. I make them myself, really simple.
Yeah.
I have myself a length of a spool of Dacron. I mean, those posh carpy braids, you literally get a spool, it lasts you for pretty much the rest of your life, doesn't it?
Yeah.
With Dacron connectors. I think I use Camotex, some Fox Camotex, and just simply one of our matrix beads I use.
But there's loads out there just to buy straight
Loads and loads. It's just a standard Dacron connector. And what you end up with is, as it says, a loop of Dacron with a bead attached to it. And if I pull that off, you can see there, what I've done is I've literally tied my elastic onto the Dacron loop.
Granny knotted, Annie. He's granny knotted it, folks.
Double granny knot. Well, that's not. That's like a fancy knot, but I don't know what it's called. But anyway, we'll go into that another day attaching them. But you can see it's just simply tied onto the loop, and then that sleeve, bead, whatever you want to call it, is simply pulled over it to stop it from going inside my pole and to protect the knot of the elastic as well. Really simple. And for me, it does for, other than my shallow F1 fishing, that is what I use for all of my fishing, be it silvers in the winter, big carp in the summer. And it's nice because it's sticky outy. I'm waiting for you to laugh at some stupid comments at this point, but it is. See how it pokes out lovely like that?
I'm
like
seeing it. I'm looking at it in person, in real life.
And what it does, it keeps the rig away from the end of my pole. So if I'm slapping my rig over for carp fishing or at any time, it keeps my rig away from wrapping around my pole. It just sticks everything out the way. And to attach a rig, true Blue Peter style, you've got my loop ready.
Oh, go on it.
Yeah, so you've got your loop in the top of your rig. I mean, really simple. I've got my loop there, you could see, nice overhand loop, just been tied with a granny knot. And what I do to attach my rig is get the line behind it, and make another loop. So what I've got now is two loops, but this one's not got a knot, it's just a loop in the line. And you simply pass this loop in the line through the loop that's already made, and then put your Dacron in the middle of that loop. Yes, and by keeping hold of it, you can see it wraps around itself. Let me try and get it so it looks as neat as possible. There we go, you can see it wrapping around itself there. And what it does, once the knot's passed over, so the camera looks and sees that nice. Get it over the knot, there, that's it. You can see it just strangling down on itself, lovely. Yeah, and that gives a lovely, firm connection that does not come off.
Certainly
most of the time.
When we've coached people in the past, they're worried about that knot coming off and this, that and the other, but it never ever has it? No. How long we used, that like setups like this?
Forever. As long as you put it on correctly in the first place, it doesn't come off. But see how it's held away from it, lovely there?
Yeah, I like that.
So it's all held away from the end of my pole.
So there's no chance of tangling or anything like that, is there?
No. I know a little bit more fiddly than the way you're going to show, but for me, to get it off, really easy. These days, you do not fish little delicate lines.
No.
The minimum you're using is sort of 015, 016, and that doubled up, which it is in the loop there, simply by squeezing it together, giving it a little push, it all opens up, and I can just pick that rig right off. Yeah, let's pull that back over there.
So you release the line at the end, put your
rig back in the
wind, and away you go, isn't it?
I mean, really nice and easy, and a simple way of connecting your elastic.
Yeah.
But
See,
for you do
I think, folks, as obviously I've got to keep things as simple as possible, my way is even simpler.
The blah, 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 blah.
Basically, it's just a bead, so it's similar to what Jamie had with the Dacron coming out of it, but this, I've just taken the Dacron out, got rid of it, threaded that onto my elastic, and then it's just a simple overhand, not a granny knot, J-lad, just a simple overhand loop, pull it nice and tight, and then what you'll actually hear it just sort of fits into there, and it can't possibly go over that. Now, over the knot, sorry. Now, to attach the line, it's really simple. I'm going to do mine a little bit different to Jamie. Let's bring that pole up there.
Would you normally do it my way? One loop?
Always one loop,
Just one loop.
I don't do two loops, but for obviously the purposes of this basics fishing, it's definitely beneficial. I think if you get used to using 2 loops to
it's easier to remove.
It is easy. It is easy,
especially on them cold, chilly days.
Hold the what?
Cold, chilly days.
I thought you said it was back to front like like the towing costs thing. You might have done, you know. Right, so basically all I'm going to do, towing costs. Towing costs the other day, folks, is like get double the line over. So I've got quite a bit of line there. I'm going to make 1 big loop. So I'm going to go through 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. With all knots, give it a little bit of a moisten. So you can see now, I'm just going to trim this bit off here. Obviously use scissors, folks. So you can see now I've got 1 big loop.
Big loop.
1 big loop.
Big loop.
What I'm going to do now is go up to the top of this loop, pull about 1 inch back, and then push that back on itself, and it'll naturally create that loop for you. So I want to put that through there 2 times. If you only do it once, it'll slip. So 2 times, so through once and then twice. Now this doesn't need to be a big knot or a big loop.
So make sure a loop in the top of the loop.
So that's what we've got. Are you on that, Richard? Yeah? So that's gone through 2 times. Now to make that nice and small, I'm going to keep my finger, index finger and thumb on the knot there, just where that loop passes through, and pull away to make that as small as possible, and then pull nice and tight. Don't need to moisten that or anything, because all it's there is just release your rig at the end, and that's what you're left with. Now, probably the most important thing.
I'll do that once you put it on.
To do it right. So that's what you're left with, yeah. So you've got a big loop and a little babby loop. So what we're doing, opening up the big loop. So this is exactly the same as what J-Lad's just said before. Getting a single piece of line, pulling that through. Yeah. So that's what you're left with, and then so you pull your connector back over your elastic. That line goes over your elastic.
It has to go past
the knot, and then it's just a case of just helping that along the way, and then that just pulls down to the knot, which is there. Now it can't possibly come off, you know, because it's on that knot. It can't possibly come off, and then all we do now is just get that bead, and that goes over it. You'll hear it click into place, and that's the finished rig at the end. But the single most important thing when you're sort of poking this rig into like bushes and things is you need to make sure you're snipping the end of that loop, because if that catches,
pulls your rig off.
It does. I've had it before. It does actually, yeah. So literally all we need to do, just give that a little snip like that, so if it does pass into anything, it can't possibly get snarled up.
You just snip the little loop on the end of the big loop, haven't you?
Yeah, that's it. And that's a finished rig there. Now, easier than what Jay's done before. When I want to pack away, get rid of my rig, put it back on a winder, all I do is grab them bits of line there, and that's it. Off, put it back in the winder, and away you go. But as I said, when you get used to it, you'll just do 1 loop, and it's so easier the way Jamie showed, you know, just pushing it back up, certainly with thick line. But as a guide, start off doing it that way, folks, and get used to it. But them are the 2 forms of connecting your rigs onto your elastic arm.
Yeah, they're the 2 best ways these days of doing
100%. So smooth, and again, because like your lines coming from behind here and coming out this way, there's no chance of tangling or anything like that.
Yeah.
Whereas I've had it before sitting with the plastic connectors where it does tangle.
Oh, definitely.
And you'll be the same with Dacron. You don't get it where you get with the longer Dacrons, folks. You might get that tangling because it's sort of like spins around itself, but a bit floppy. Go ahead, J-Lad, bit floppy, but not as stiff as like the little babby ones that Jamie has. Yeah. But this way and that way. The other thing that I'm going to say as well, J-Lad, I'm off on one here.
Go on.
Is I like doing it with a bead, because you can tell when your elastic's wearing.
I'm just going to go on to this.
Go on,
That's the best way of maintaining your elastic, if you like.
Yeah.
It lasts longer that way, because you can literally trim 2 inches off. I mean, if you do it with a Dacron or any other connection, you lose probably 6 inches every time you redo it, because of the knots you have to tie. Yeah. With that, you lose 1 inch, you go.
Yeah.
So you can literally take 1 inch off, not really affect your elastic, and you're good to go on it. It'll prolong the life of your elastic that way.
It will, and also if you've got a little bit of elastic dangly down here, because it's just sneaking back into your pole every time, you know, it'll last ages, won't it?
It'll make your elastic last longer, that.
Yeah.
Money-saving tips, aren't we?
We're all about money saving in this current climate, Jamie!
Like that. Price of casters these days, we've got to be.
Don't get me started on casters, J-Lad. Right then, Jamie of the Howes with your white trainies on, you've got 30 seconds to tell us all about the Winning Ways channel memberships. Go!
Well, we have a basic package, which basically includes a live match every month, and also a Q&A where we get to watch you getting drunk and me drinking lots of water and needing a wee very quickly.
Kind of a drink.
And then we also have an all-in package where you can pretty much get all of that, plus you get all the back catalogue stuff. and lots more to keep everyone happy.
Got 10 seconds. Got 10 seconds. Go on, keep talking. You got 10 seconds.
I thought 10 left. I'm nearly done.
Come on. Keep going, J-Lad.
It's just dead good. Loads of videos. Me informative. Him being a bell end. It's amazing.
2, 1. We're dying.